Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. You'll no doubt be saying, oh dear, here's another one of these New Brighton residents. Well, yes, it is, and here I am. Mayor and councillors, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak today on and give my personal thoughts on the council's long-term plan. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the council's unique and, however, invidious position that you found yourselves in post-earthquake with all the issues that this raises. But in general terms, I really do commend the council for the way that it responded initially to the quake and the subsequent progress in the rebuild of our city. I'm a third generation New Brighton resident, I'm sure you've heard people say this sort of thing again, and a small business owner in the area. I've raised my own children in the area, and now we have 6 grandchildren that live in the area, so consequently I represent 5 generations. We live here in the eastern suburbs because we love them and we're committed to the area. Now, New Brighton is a coastal suburb in a coastal city. In fact, 40% of the world's entire population live within 60 kilometres of the coast. And considering the large subcontinents that we have on our planet, of Europe, Asia, China, the Americas, this shows that as in terms of humanity, we are inevitably linked to the ocean and the sea. How many times have we heard visitors that come to our city and say, why is it that the east side of town, and New Brighton especially, is so run down, and it's the cheap side of town? Most people regard in go-ahead places around the world that the seaside suburbs are the ones that are valued and most desired. Now, Bruce Ainsley, in his book, recalling his recollections on New Brighton in some really beautiful ways, talks about walking over the pier and the clean surf and the big sky, paints a great picture, says in his initial introduction that in his expert opinion, this is the town he refers to as New Brighton, is the best place in the world to live in. And then he says, all right, not everybody agrees with me. Unlike people in most every other city in the world, citizens of Christchurch do not seem to want to live beside the sea. New Brighton, I think this is a reflection of the uniqueness of New Brighton. New Brighton is not, demographically, is not a homogenous suburb like many other suburbs in the city are. We are an extremely diverse and eclectic group of people. It includes lower socioeconomic groups, business owners, professional peoples, artistic types, all living side by side in this unique suburb. And in the past, this has meant that we often do not speak as a united group because we often have different values, where other individual groups in the suburbs in New Brighton, not New Brighton, in the city, are often seen as speaking it as a united voice. But however, this is not a weakness or a failing, but it's rather one of the strengths of our communities. Prior to the quakes, and for a variety of reasons, I'm sure which you've heard many of them here today, New Brighton, during these submissions, was rather neglected in a very sorry state. And that's why I've just got some pictures here that were just taken literally over just a day, walking around New Brighton, and not looking for things in particular, but just taking photographs. That's Brighton as you see it. That's Brighton as it is today. The council, and asking for opportunities for people to speak to the long-term plan, I think, has woken a sleeping giant, as it were, and you are now getting submissions from New Brighton. I don't want to go over all the various practical and day-to-day things that people have talked about, but I fully endorse the way that people express their opinions on the issues that affect us from South Shore, South Brighton, New Brighton North, Waimari and through. Now, the eastern suburbs were broken, they were broken by the quakes, and I'd like the council to consider looking at the allocation of its funding through using a triage type of model of funding. Now, most of us are familiar with this concept, which is commonly used in the medical field and disaster and action management. It's the evaluation and categorisation of needs and priorities where there are insufficient funds available. Quite simply, you fix the things that need to be fixed and you prioritise them. Areas of Brighton are still in bad need of repair. There's broken and damaged footpaths, damaged roading. Elderly people, I know for a fact, elderly people still fear to go out on the roads and the footpaths. Do you see people on mobility scooters in New Brighton? No, you can't use them down there. It's just too dangerous, and I think these are things that that the council needs to consider. So I'm just out of time. If I could just have a few more seconds. Yep. On a wider scale, I ask that the council make adequate provision for the future economic and social development of New Brighton in terms of the master plan. The purchase has been funds have been set aside for the purchase of property there, which is great, but I would like to see funding set aside for the total development of the area, and linking it in with a legacy project. In fact, why not to be bold and look to the long-term plan to include perhaps the closure of Marine Parade from Hawke Street to Bereford Street, and making it a total package that links the foreshore, the enhancement of the business, retail and entertainment area, and also include the promenade, I would suggest, from New Brighton to North Beach, making the whole thing a one big total plan. Finally, New Brighton is not dying. People are not abandoning the area. There is, and I don't think there will be, a managed retreat. In fact, I've heard of a number of people who, having left the area, now wish to return. We are rebuilding one of our own personal properties now in New Brighton. I've had real estate agents, I've had local people who have moved out of the area since the quakes because of concerns about what was happening. They now have come in and said, is this for sale? We want to come back. People are wanting to come back to New Brighton. We are a coastal suburb and a coastal city in a world that is populated in a coastal manner. Do the right thing for New Brighton and the city. Make bold decisions and allocate extra resourcing for the area. Let New Brighton be the new vanguard for renewal for the east and in terms the whole city. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions? Thank you.